Mangwana ni Malalepo Fukenjani Kleklas. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, your portal into Africa's potent stories. On today's show, we spotlight the fiery protests in Togo after a controversial constitutional change. And Zimbabwe's President Mnangagwa declares a national disaster following a fatal highway crash. The U.S. moves to review ties with South Africa, while Rwanda names economist Justin Nsengiyumva as prime minister. Ethiopia fiercely denies Donald Trump's dam funding claims, and the Central African Republic advances its election preparations. This is Africa Good Morning, making sure that you get the vital updates that you need from this continent and beyond. We're also going to be covering visual stories from Namibia from the week. Do watch us on DSTV 285, GOTV 25, oneup2.com, and Network Media Hub on YouTube, as well as NTV Africa on YouTube. My name is Ashwin Berry. This is Africa Good Morning. Top stories shortly. Let's get into our top stories. Togo is facing widespread unrest as citizens protest against a new constitution that effectively cements Faure Gnassingbé's grip on power. The revised framework eliminates presidential term limits and shifts executive power to the prime minister, a role now held by Gnassingbé himself. Critics say this move undermines democracy, allowing him to bypass electoral accountability while preserving total control. Demonstrations, largely driven by artists and activists rather than political opposition, have resulted in at least 5 deaths. The protests gained momentum following the arrest of institutionalization of rapper Amron, a prominent regime critic. His forced apology and mental hospital confinement sparked outrage across Lomé, with youth setting up burning barricades and facing violent crackdowns, while international attention remains distracted by crises elsewhere and regional body ECOWAS stays silent. Pro-democracy voices in Togo are growing louder. The constitutional shift was framed by the government as a democratic evolution toward a parliamentary model. Yet critics argue it's a calculated strategy to entrench dynastic rule, especially given the dominance of Gnassingbé's Unir party in a gerrymandered parliament. Togo's people, tired of nearly 60 years under the same family, seem to be demanding real change, not symbolic titles or cosmetic reforms. Mnangagwa has declared the recent Chitungwiza highway crash at Manyame Bridge a national disaster and has called for sweeping reforms to overhaul the country's traffic safety protocols. The accident involving a truck and omnibus highlights the severe road hazards Zimbabweans face daily. Mnangagwa decried what he termed a bloody traffic jungle, calling the current safety measures inadequate and outdated. He insisted on a coordinated national effort involving all state institutions and the judiciary to implement more robust and result-oriented traffic enforcement strategies. In addition to promising government support for the victims' medical and, sadly, funeral costs, the president urged citizens to be vigilant on the roads, particularly ahead of upcoming Heroes and Defense Forces holidays. The government's renewed focus on road safety comes amid growing frustration with inadequate infrastructure, poor driver behavior, and lax enforcement. While Mnangagwa's statement acknowledges long-standing issues, critics are questioning whether his administration's response will go beyond rhetoric this time. The call for a comprehensive policy shift represents a critical moment for road safety in Zimbabwe, one that will require real political will and yield lasting change. A new bill passed by the U.S. House Foreign Affairs Committee may strain Washington-Pretoria relations as it proposes a full review of bilateral ties and possible sanctions against South African officials. The U.S.-South Africa Bilateral Relations Review Act, introduced by Texas Republican Ronnie Jackson, targets South Africa's alignment with countries like Russia and China and its vocal support for Palestine, including the genocide case filed against arrest Israel at the International Court of Justice. The bill reflects growing discontent among U.S. lawmakers, particularly during Donald Trump's second term, where accusations of anti-white racism, a refugee program for Afrikaners, have already stirred diplomatic tensions. While it still requires full House and Senate approval, the bill marks a significant escalation in the U.S. response to South Africa's global alliances. Pretoria has declined to comment so far. The proposed legislation would identify individuals within the South African government or ruling ANC party for sanctions if deemed complicit in corruption or human rights violations. Though it names no one yet, the move underscores a sharp decline in U.S.-South Africa ties driven by divergent geopolitical interests and ideological rifts. Rwandan President Paul Kagame has appointed Justin Nsengiyumva, the deputy governor of the central bank, as the country's new prime minister. The announcement made by the government spokesperson's office came without any official explanation for the leadership change. Nsengiyumva, who holds a PhD in economics from the University of Leicester and previously worked for the British government, is seen as a technocrat with experience in economic policy and financial governance. His appointment signals potential shifts in Rwanda's domestic or economic agenda, especially given his background. Kagame has long been known for reshuffling senior positions as part of strategic recalibrations. This change comes amid Kagame's continued efforts to maintain Rwanda's image as a stable, development-focused state, even as his administration faces periodic criticism over political freedoms. The quiet dismissal of the previous prime minister suggests internal restructuring, possibly to better align with new economic goals or to respond to emerging regional challenges. While the move has not yet been widely analyzed, Nsengiyumva's technocratic profile could usher in more data-driven policy initiatives within Kagame's tightly controlled administration. Now, Ethiopia has categorically denied former U.S. President Donald Trump's claim that the United States funded the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Now, Faure Gnassingbé, Deputy Director of the GERD Coordination Office, labeled the statement false and destructive, asserting that the $4 billion project was entirely domestically funded through state resources and public contributions, including salary deductions and diaspora support. Built over 14 years, the dam is a source of immense national pride and a symbol of self-reliance for Ethiopia. Trump, a known ally of Egypt, one of the dam's fiercest critics, has previously made similar unsubstantiated claims about American involvement. Ethiopia's firm rebuttal comes at a time when GERD continues to strain relations with downstream countries. Egypt and Sudan, who fear reduced water flow despite the controversy, Ethiopia maintains that GERD was achieved without foreign financial support. While the GERD Coordination Office is officially independent, some observers question its full visibility into funding sources. Nevertheless, Ethiopian officials remain unified in defending the dam as a sovereign achievement, rejecting any narrative that undermines their ownership of the project or inflames regional tensions. The loss of our top stories. The Central African Republic has reached a key milestone in its push towards their general elections, and this is publishing provisional voter lists. We'll be giving you more details on the Central African Republic as they are preparing for their upcoming elections in December 2025. However, with just 5 months to go, the pressure is on the ANE to resolve outstanding issues and restore public trust. The voter list publication offers hope for a peaceful election, yet the broader context of instability in CAR means the electoral process will require vigilant monitoring. As the country continues navigating a fragile recovery, successful elections could mark a significant turning point in its democratic journey. This is Africa Good Morning, and those have been our top stories. We are certainly looking forward to the next segment as we head into the visual news from the week from Namibia, from politics to arts. Stay with us. All right, we're going to get into the visual news from Namibia. This is where Africa Good Morning goes through the stories which made headlines and the ones which are most likely to have lasting impact on daily Namibian lives. In our first visual news story, President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah says she is deeply disturbed by the ongoing cases and reports of corruption within some public enterprises. These remarks were delivered by Transport Minister Veiko Nekundi on behalf of the President at the opening of the Public Enterprises CEOs Forum AGM in Walvis Bay.
Deeply disturbed by cases and reports of corruption in some public enterprises in our country. And I want to repeat that statement for the President. And it must be taken very, very serious. However, I am deeply disturbed by cases and reports of corruption in some public enterprises in our country. As I have indicated in my State of the Nation address, SONA, corruption diverts scarce resources from development and erodes public trust in public institutions, and thus must be viewed as treason. I hope we understand and are able to contextualize as leaders of our respective institutions. Very, very serious, colleagues. Therefore, the 8th administration shall not tolerate corruption, and anybody who engages in this evil act will be held accountable and will face the wrath of the law, as we are serious about business and
Now, the chairperson of the Public Enterprises CEOs Forum, Fluxman Samuel, proposed that the forum's 10th AGM serve as a platform to discuss how public enterprises can meaningfully contribute to the government's National Youth Fund. Namibia has already taken the lead with the $5 million contribution to the fund.
As we all know, government has prioritized youth empowerment. And in this regard, I would like to thank Namibia, one of our own, for having taken the lead by contributing an amount of $5 million Namibian dollars to the National Youth Fund. Let's give them a round of applause. For obvious reason, government has prioritized the youth empowerment agenda. I therefore move that this AGM deeply discuss the best way how we can make a meaningful contribution to this important National Youth Fund. I appeal to the boards of public enterprises as represented by their respective distinguished chairpersons to support executive management when proposals are brought to their respective boards for serious consideration, so that we can assist the Namibian government in rolling out its initiatives aimed at empowering the youth.
All right, now Kavango East Governor Hamunyera Hambiuka delivered his State of the Region address in Rundu this week, highlighting significant progress in educational infrastructure across the region's constituencies.
As we all know, government has prioritized
significantly in the construction of schools and classrooms to the tune of $4,340,000 Namibian dollars, as follows under the renovation budget. The construction of 3 classrooms at Mbambi SP in Nsengiyumva circuit, construction of the concrete slab supply and installation water plant for fresh water processing at Mukwe Circuit Office. Construction of a security fence and service of sewer plantation at Divundu Combined School. Construction of a septic tank and manhole at Omega Combined School. Construction of 6-pit latrine at Tuhingreni Project School. To ensure equitable learning environment, a total number of 46 classrooms have been constructed under phase 2 at Rabana Mudi Siremo Secondary School. 14 classrooms to Hingreni Project School, 14 classrooms Joy Mungunda Primary School, 3 classrooms Dr. Herbert Diaz Ndango Secondary School, 3 classrooms Augustinus Masheka Secondary School, 4 classrooms Edward Mukoya Secondary School, 4 classrooms at Maputa Junior Primary School, and 4 classrooms in our effort to promote vocational training education.
Now, the Ministry of Education, Arts, Culture, Youth and Sport launched Namibia's first ever Commonwealth Youth Council Consultative Dialogue this week under the theme Reimagining Youth Leadership. Speaking at the event, Minister Sanet Steenkamp urged young people to claim their rightful place in leadership and decision-making, emphasizing that authentic voices must be heard.
And more than 2,022 athletes joining us in our country. Do we not have the potential? Do we not have the energy and the people? So let me stand before you today. I'm really standing here graciously with a heart full of gratitude as a proud Namibian and a minister responsible for youth. And my aim is to officiate this launch, which is deeply meaningful to me. The Commonwealth Youth Council first consultative dialogue to be hosted from the 4th to the 8th of August 2025, right here, the vibrant, very beautiful capital city, Windhoek. We're not just hosting another event, ladies and gentlemen. We are opening our doors, our hearts, our economy, our platform, giving opportunity to the 1.5 billion young voices that is represented across all 58 Commonwealth nations. And we are doing so with a purpose to rethink, to reimagine, and to rebuild. There was a lot of destruction. It's time to get together, to rebuild a future that listens, but also act and work with and for the young people. Ladies and gentlemen, this dialogue that we all envisage with this launch that we are having, that's to come in August, 12 days from today. But what we're doing here today is equally important. We're setting the stage, we've just opened up the conversation, and we are proudly announcing to the region.
And the 2025 Content Creator Awards officially launched in Windhoek last night, with MTC and Savannah announced as sponsors. MTC has committed $1.5 million Namibian to this year's event and pledged a total of $4.5 million over the next 3 years. Nominees will be revealed in September, with the award ceremony scheduled for 6 December at the National Theatre of Namibia. This year, the awards will feature 21 categories. Here is founder and business developer Carlos Kurirap.
My name is Carlos. I'm one of the partners for the Namibian Content Creator Awards, officially the MTC Namibian Content Creator Awards from 2025. Welcome. Firstly, I'd just like to thank our partners. This is something that we thought of and started last year. We were lucky to get partners last year on board for a first time event, but this time it's about to be 5 times, 10 times bigger. You know, when we are with the big blue, everything is big. So thank you very much for coming. I'll now just be taking you guys through the the proposal, the presentation that we have that just basically explains what the Namibian Content Creator Awards are and the objectives of these awards and the reason why we have started these awards. I'll also be taking you guys through the categories that we have for this year, more categories. I'll then also just be taking you guys through the events that we'll be having for this year. So I'll just be standing like this just so that
You are still with Africa. Good morning. Let's have a look at the weather predictions before we return with your economic news story. Zimbabwe's informal economy now accounts for over 75% of all economic activity, according to the country's first comprehensive economic census. The report released by the Zimbabwe National Statistics Agency highlights how decades of inflation, job scarcity, and currency instability have pushed citizens into informal trade. While the sector offers crucial livelihoods, its minimal contribution to state revenue presents a critical risk, says MacDonald Mutengo of the Confederation of Zimbabwe Industries. Formal businesses are suffering, squeezed by regulation and losing ground to tax-exempt informal operators. Wholesale and retail trade dominate the informal market, followed by manufacturing. Bulawayo leads in informal enterprise concentration, while other provinces lag significantly. The growth of informality mirrors trends in other African economies like Kenya, Nigeria, where informal employment constitutes 83.6% and 89.4% respectively. However, in Zimbabwe, the imbalance is especially stark due to long-term economic mismanagement. While the sector sustains millions, the government faces a dilemma: how to formalize this vast workforce without crippling livelihoods. Unless addressed, this structural imbalance could undermine economic recovery efforts and perpetuate a fragile, unsustainable fiscal environment. Let's have a look at the indicators. Our sincerest apologies, we won't be having any time for the economic indicators, but of course, every single weekday you can catch Africa Good Morning, bringing you economic news indicators and the broader stories around Africa. These are the highlights for today. Protests erupt in Togo over power grab by Faure Gnassingbé. Mnangagwa declares national disaster after fatal crash and orders road reform in Zimbabwe. U.S. lawmakers advance sanctions bill targeting South Africa's foreign policy. Kagame appoints economist Justin Nsengiyumva as Rwanda's new prime minister. Ethiopia refutes Trump's dam funding claim as false and harmful. Central African Republic publishes voter lists ahead of elections. And Zimbabwe's informal economy poses critical risk to growth. DSTV 285, GOTV 25, oneup2.com, Network Media Hub at NTV Africa on YouTube is where you can find us. On oneup2.com, if you click the echo icon, you have access to not just this episode, but all other episodes from Africa Good Morning and NTV. Because on OneUp2 Echo, primetime is anytime. Africa Good Morning will be back on Monday, zoning in on Zambia with Mike Sichula and, of course, bringing you stories from broader Africa. From me, Ashwin Berry, and the Africa Good Morning team, Swera Jokanaka. Cheers.